The trade deadline is just a couple weeks away, and you have to assume that there are going to be a couple moves that the Minnesota Vikings will make before that trade deadline. Not saying they're going to make it, but I'm assuming they will make a couple moves and trading some key players on our roster currently. We've talked about the Kirk Cousins trades, but today is a different story. We've heard rumblings about the Danielle Hunter trade at least a couple times this season. It hasn't been too overpowered like the Kirk Cousins because Danielle Hunter has been doing his thing. He's been a beast on the defensive side of things with, I think, 6 sacks in just 5 games, so that is something we like to see. But apparently there are teams that are showing interest in Danielle Hunter, and I mean, why not? The dude's an absolute freak of nature when he's completely healthy on the roster or for the season. I mean, last year, 10.5 sacks. This year, already 6 sacks. He's on pace for, I can't think of the number off my head, but he's on pace for over his career high of 14.5. So that has to make a lot of sense that teams are showing interest in Danielle Hunter. One of those teams is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have interest in trading for Vikings edge rusher Danielle Hunter, according to Darren Wolfson on Score North's Mackey and Judd. Now, this is what Wolfson said. I know this. Jacksonville has all sorts of interest in Danielle Hunter. What are they willing to offer? Can you complete that trade? Is basically what they're saying. Now, it does make sense on paper. Hunter is having another great season with 6 sacks in 5 games. He's on an expiring contract and is the Vikings' top non-Kirk Cousins asset who could bring back a real return in a trade. Now, if the Vikings do enter sell mode looking to move Hunter, feels like a no-brainer. From the Jaguars' perspective, they need some pass rush help to bolster their chances in the loaded AFC. Now, one issue, with the Jacksonville Jaguars idea is that their second, third, and fourth round picks in next year's draft are all so-called locked until the conditions of the Calvin Ridley trade play out this season. Remember, Calvin Ridley got traded from the Atlanta Falcons to the Jacksonville Jaguars with some draft picks and stuff, so those have to figure themselves out. Now, the Vikings landing their first rounder next year feels unlikely. If a deal were to happen before the deadline, it would probably have to involve valuable 2025 picks. Other players the Vikings could consider moving include Harrison Smith, please no, KJ Osborne, Jordan Hicks, and Ezra Cleveland. Now, 2 of those people that I don't see the Vikings moving on from are Harrison Smith. It's just not going to happen. He took a pay cut to stay this season. He's at the end of his career. This might be his last year. I doubt it. He's probably going to play at least 2 more seasons if I had to assume at least. And Jordan Hicks. I feel like if we get rid of Jordan Hicks and we get rid of Danielle Hunter, our defense is going to be in shambles. It's going to be tough. We're really not going to have a chance at doing anything the rest of the season, which at this point in time, if we end up losing to the Bears and then we lose to the Niners, then I would understand it. But right now, look, we have to keep fighting. We have a chance at the playoffs. Okay, people don't understand that we still have a chance. Yeah, it's a very far it's a very far chance. It's not gonna just come to us overnight. We have to work for it. We have to win some ball games, and we really have to go on a run here because if we don't, we're going to miss the playoffs, and we're going to have probably right now what we're projected a top 10 pick, and that shouldn't sit well with any of us, even though it's been a while since we've had a top 10 pick. The last time we were even close, I believe it was pick 12 or pick 14 when we traded it to the Detroit Lions, and in return they took Jamison Williams. So it's like, okay, what are we doing here? But look, Kirk Cousins, I could see getting traded, but he has to waive his no-trade clause. Doubt that's going to happen. We'll probably stick with Kirk the rest of the season. Danielle Hunter just restructured his contract. Basically, he's making a buttload of money. Going over to Jacksonville to a team that has a chance to make a playoff run would make a lot of sense. I'm sure there's other teams out there that are showing interest in Danielle Hunter, but this is the one team that has been noted that they are basically showing interest right now in Danielle Hunter and want him or would want him on their roster. And I mean, the dude's 6 sacks, 5 games. I mean, you guys tell me. I mean, this dude, his trade capital right now is through the roof. Now, with Jacksonville, for trading Danielle Hunter, you would assume you'd get like a first rounder or a late first round pick and maybe an early second round pick. You're not going to get a high first round pick for Danielle Hunter, I don't think, at least in my opinion, even though it is a crucial piece to the defense in that edge rushing position, even though he's kind of an outside linebacker. But it makes a lot of sense for us to trade away Danielle Hunter. If the season continues to spiral out of control by that October 31st deadline, expect the Vikings to move on from a couple players, especially KJ Osborne. I can see him getting moved. But with Justin Jefferson out these 4 weeks, Who knows if that's going to happen? Ezra Cleveland, I would hate to see us part with, just because I know he's not the greatest left guard in the game. But look, we have to keep the offensive line together. These guys are a young bunch. It doesn't look good at all. We have Christian Darrisaw, Ezra Cleveland on the left side, Garrett Bradbury at center, Ed Ingram, which it should be Dalton Reisner at right guard, and then you have Brian O'Neill, our best offensive lineman at that right tackle position. So I think we got to keep that offensive line together. So trading Ezra Cleveland to me it wouldn't make much sense at all. But it is what it is, right? Now we have to just kind of look at this from reality. The Vikings aren't doing good. 1-4. Okay, we keep losing ball games. We're going to see a lot of movement at that trade deadline and expect Kirk Cousins potentially, most likely not going to get moved. Danielle Hunter probably going to get moved, and KJ Osborne most likely getting moved as well. So you guys can let me know in the comments what you think about this. Do the Vikings trade Danielle Hunter, and to who do you want Danielle Hunter traded to? Also, drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It'd be much, much appreciated. Have a great rest of your night, folks, and Skol Vikes.